Hey everyone, how you doing today? So we just finished up reviewing what Anna's got going on the last couple of weeks. Very impressive. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna talk about someone we both know is an amazing investor in his own right. I've known him since he was in the Silicon Valley doing 1, 2, 3 flip. Anna's actually partnered with them, I believe, on a deal, which she will share with you momentarily. And that is, of course, the great investor, author, Jay Scott. Anna, I know you've partnered with him, I believe.
I have. We recently partnered together on a multifamily deal. And let me just tell you, Jay Scott wrote 2 of the first books that I ever read when I started flipping properties, The Complete Guide to Estimating Rehab Costs and to Flipping Houses. And he is really one of the most genuine, smart, and funny people that I know. So to be able to partner with him has been a great experience on this recent complex that we bought in Houston. He's just a really great, really smart, intelligent guy.
Yeah, and he's always been that way. I mean, I think it's 1, 2, 3 flip. It might have been flip 1, 2, 3. I think it was 1, 2, 3 flip. It was a site where he was essentially documenting deals before video, right? He actually I think it was 50 of his flips. He broke them all down by the numbers. You could go and see pictures. He actually gave me the idea for creating my own post, just talking about deals. I was frankly copying him. And then he and I were both presenters at the original Bigger Pockets event by Josh Dorkin in Colorado, Denver. I want to say it was 07 or 08. That was a pretty cool event to present at, being part of the first one. So I've known him quite a while. Yeah. So yeah, what awesome. I wanted to do was share with you a post. He doesn't post a lot on Facebook, but when he does, it's meaningful. When he does it with intention, and he just kind of lays it all out. So what I did, so I protect, my friends and families, I cut and paste, right? I copied the post, put it in Word, so we can go through together without everybody knowing who my mom or my sister are. So I took it out of Facebook, but let me share this with you. And I thought we'd go through it together. Oh, no, this one.
Great.
Share. So hopefully you can see that now. Can you see that?
I can.
Awesome. So I thought we'd go through together. It is rather long, but basically this post kind of netted out is Jay Scott was highlighting, you know what? He's buying single family homes. He's buying single family homes with a yield. He calls it cash on cash of like 6.3%. We will see momentarily. And he was basically trying to highlight that, yeah, cash on cash is important, but it's not the only thing, right? He was trying to kind of share all of that. So I don't know. Did you see this? You saw this post originally, right? This isn't the first time you've seen it?
I did see this post. Yes, I did. I liked it.
Yeah, me too. Did anything jump out at you? I don't know if you want to go paragraph by paragraph, or how do you think we should do this? Should we read this to folks and then stop at the end of the paragraph to talk about it? What do you want to do?
Sure. So essentially, the first part of the question, he's just saying, people are asking, what is he up to? And why is he buying a bunch of single family homes, right? Because he's done flipping and he's done some vacation rentals in Florida. He's done multifamily. Why is he buying single families? And he's purchased 17 single family properties. Mm-hmm. And even though he's bought these properties, the cash flow isn't great. And he's admitting that.
Yeah.
And so what I think the key takeaway there is, and again, Jay's economy. He knows what's happening with interest rates, and he understands inflation. And I did a great post on inflation and leverage during inflationary periods as well. But essentially what people need to realize, and I hope that your listeners kind of take away at a high level from just the beginning, is that there's different types of deals for different people depending on where they are in their investment journey and where the economy is. And a lot of people, when you talk to clients, when you're helping your clients as an investment advisor, we essentially ask them 3 things. Are you essentially primarily looking for income? Are you trying to replace your income? Or do you already have your income needs met and you're looking for growth and appreciation? Or are you like in full out asset preservation mode, super low risk, and you really don't need a bunch of more cash flow, right? And then the 4th thing is, what's your tax situation? Because taxes make a big difference in how you invest. And so one of the things Jay's going to get into, and we'll talk about this as we go through it, is that cash on cash returns are not all that there is. when we deal with real estate, the cash on cash is one piece of it, but we also have depreciation expense, or we have mortgage pay down, we have appreciation over time. And we have the ability to make those properties worth more. So it's just one piece of it where some people might go, man, if I can get 15%, why would I buy a house for 6? It's because they're only thinking about one piece of the investment and not the whole thing.
Yeah. And again, folks, realize that Jay Scott is a real estate professional. If I've ever seen one, he has multiple flows of income. He doesn't have a W-2 job, right? So his tax profile is very different than a W-2 employee. But again, what I love about Jay is he just puts it out there. It's kind of a dry wit. It's like, here it is. And he's always been, even since 1, 2, 3 flip. Here are the numbers. I mean, you can't argue with numbers. Numbers don't have opinions, right? They just are what they are. And again, he calls it out right up front. You know, he's buying these things with a cash on cash, what I call yield of 6.3%. I mean, that's kind of where he started. And that's going to set some people off. They're like, oh my God, Jay Scott's only getting 6.3%. I can get 9 or I can get 12. Folks, read the whole post. There's a lot more here than that.
Yeah. And, the first thing he says is he wouldn't have touched the deals a couple years ago or even a year ago. Well, why is that? Because a year ago, we were in an upward cycle. We were at the end of the expansion period where you didn't have to do everything right. And the rising tide lifts all ships. You can make more rent. You can make more cash flow. You can buy deals, fairly reasonably. Well, suddenly we've moved into this, pandemic recession anomaly where housing prices are still kind of crazy. And, but interest rates are really low. And so what has changed for Jay is that the economy has shifted, right?
Yeah.
It's harder to find turnkey rentals, but there are still quite a few distressed properties. And what he's buying are burrs again, where he's buying them below value. And there's a lot of upside. He's got to fix them up or flip them, but instead of selling them, because the interest rates are so extraordinarily low right now, and they actually beat inflation. Interest rates are below the average 3 to 4% inflation. He knows that by getting long-term mortgages on these properties and holding them as rentals, the bank is taking that inflationary hit, and he's actually making money by having a loan on a property. And he's going to create a lot of equity that he can then take out. And when he takes that equity out because he's done the BRRRR method and increased the value, now he essentially has infinite returns. If you just look at 6.3, but he's taking the cash back out of them, essentially having an infinite return and then taking that cash to buy the next one and the next one and the next one. That's exactly how I grew and grew my wealth in my portfolio after 2009. So we're kind of back in that cycle where that makes sense if you can find the deals.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I did in 2010. I recycled about, I don't know if it was 60 to 70 grand. I just used that same money over and over and over and over again, and was doing 2 to 3 deals at one time, because you use that with private money and then you clean it up, and it just works. The other things I want to call out here, again, realizing that Jay Scott is the man and bigger than the average Joe. He can't get 3% money, right? He just can't. So he's having to use portfolio loans, and, they have amortization schedules of 20 or 25 years. He doesn't care, right? He's like, this is what I have to do. I'm not going to whine and moan because I can't get a 3% loan. I'm going to execute because I see the opportunity.
Right. And the reason that makes sense, though, for him, the biggest reason is because the rates are still low, even though they're commercial.
Yep.
Just for example, on my primary home, I got 2.5%. On a secondary home, I got 2.6%. On my apartment building, we're going to get 3.5 to 3.6. But and that's with a small bank for 25-year AM.
Yep.
But 3.6 is amazing. I mean, less than 2 years ago, we locked in a commercial loan at 5 and we were doing the happy dance, right? Yeah. Because it was so low. So even using portfolio loans with a 25-year AM, you're still doing pretty well. And the BRRRR is what really juices it to allow you to get most of your cash out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key. And of course, Jay, let's be clear. If Jay ends up leaving 20 grand in a house because he can't refi it all out, he is totally fine. Some people during the BRRRR method are so skinny that if they don't get all the money out, they're shorting a private investor or having to create a second or something like that. Realize
Right.
Jay going into a deal is entirely comfortable leaving some money in the deal. He would like it all back. Don't get me wrong, but he's comfortable leaving it in the deal if that's just how it works out.
Right, because look at this, Michael. He says he's got 400,000 in cash in his own deals.
Yep.
And after the renovation, they'll have $360,000 in equity. So it's almost 100% return on their cash investment.
Yep.
If they were to turn around and sell it. But guess what? They're also going to leave a little in it, but they're going to get monthly cash flow every single month from these deals.
Mhm.
So that 6.3% initial cash on cash return on the 400,000, once they pull some of that out, and he's not pulling all of it out, right? But once they pull some of it out, let's say he's got 100,000 still in it.
Sure.
You know, if you're making $35,000 a year in rents on $100,000 left in it, you're at a 35% cash on cash return when you're
Mhm.
done with it.
Yeah.
So the going in cash on cash, and this is where some investors make a mistake. They think that's all there is.
Yeah.
You've got to look at what's the entire life cycle of that deal and what are all the pieces that it's going to make it a really slam dunk deal for me. Well, if you only look at cash on the front end, you're missing the boat, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question. And again, let's realize not everybody can repeat what Jay is doing, although nothing he's doing is hard. Just realize he's done the work. He's built the skill. He knows his market. He's not buying any deal just out of the MLS. He's buying the right deal. Realize that, again, he's giving you the recipe, if you will, but realize he has done work for decades to build up the skill set to identify deals and fixer-uppers that he can go in, buy right, fix, cash flow, and hold. Because again, what he's laying out here, his plan is to hold these things and let inflation come, let fixed rate debt, get paid down. That's his plan when you kind of go through all of this.
Right. And when you look at the fact that, he believes, and so do I, that we are, after the government is done printing all this money and giving everybody money, we're going to hit a period of inflation, right?
Yes.
So property values are going to go up. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. If you've got single family homes that, are in anywhere other than kind of the boom and bust areas like Silicon Valley, Las Vegas, Nevada, New York City.
Mhm.
If you have properties in the average general, growing populations in the United States, those values are going to go up. And so you've locked in this low rate and a mortgage amount that even if it's 80% leveraged, if your property values go up because of inflation and your rents go up because of inflation, but your mortgage payment stays the same, that
Yep.
mortgage payment as a percent of your income that you're generating and the percent of the value is much smaller. So he's preparing for the next decade, not just for what's
Absolutely.
going to happen this year or next year or the following year.
That's exactly what I took from this is Jay is preparing for the next decade. Because again, he's been doing this 20 years, at least 16 years that I've known him, if not a full 20 years. And
Right.
He's setting it up. He's telling you, he's just saying, this is the play I'm running. And if you want to copy it in your market, go ahead. But again, I want people to realize he did a lot of work up front. And then what he's doing is just highlighting, hey, you know what? Basically, he has an income problem, right? He makes a lot of money off his books and all this other stuff that he does. He's doing quite well. He's doing so well. He has racehorses now, which I always thought was an interesting kind of right turn when he did that. But it's a passion project. So good for him. But he's highlighting how he's saving, these houses that he's buying is allowing him to have roughly $40,000 in depreciation deduction, which in his, estimated tax bracket, saves a real 12 grand.
Right. And Michael, we talked a little bit about this a couple months ago. I think it was back in November. I bought a 10-unit apartment building.
Yep.
And I paid $100,000 a door. And in my market, $100,000 a door is a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
For an older property. But the fact of the matter was, even though my cash on cash initially was low, just like Jay's, it was going to be in the 6 or 7% range.
Mm-hmm.
I saved, and it's a long story of why, but the tax code has so many nuances. I saved $120,000 I would have paid to Uncle Sam by buying that property. So if I had only the cash flow, other investors were like, I can't believe you paid $1 million for that property. Are you the one that bought it? I'm like, heck yeah. Because the cash flow wasn't all that there was. There was upside.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I could renovate them kind of like this Burr method, raise the rents, put nicer tenants in there, higher rents. But the tax benefit was the main reason that I bought that property, even though it's going to do well and it's going to appreciate and the mortgage is going to be paid and all of that. So tax benefits are huge for real estate.
Yeah, no question. And again, Jay goes from there to like, oh, by the way, folks, above you thought it was 6.3, but in reality, I look at it as, once he's done the entire process, it's 19%. And, what do you think of that?
Exactly.
I thought that was
that he has control of.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
just one year the stock market's great and the next year it crashes. This is like stable, I'm in control, right?
And again, he highlights it right here. I thought he did. I forgot from above, but yeah, he talks about it. This is his thing for the next decade. Yeah. And where does he wrap it up?
Yep.
Again, he talks about the hedge for inflation. Yeah. Hedge for inflation. This is why I'm adding homes as well. I actually put it on his post, same strategy. This is why I'm focused on single family. I think there's a lot of things coming. Pay attention for video number 3 with Anna. I have a little twist that I want to ask her about. But when we kind of wrap up Jay's post, any other kind of closing thoughts?
Yeah, just one other thing that he points out, they're trying to stay not leveraged any more than 68.5% LTV.
Oh, good
so
point.
The reason for this, I'm sure, and I haven't talked to Jay about this, but just knowing he's been through the ups and downs, right? He's been through at least a crash, maybe 2. Real estate, where people get in trouble is where they keep the properties highly leveraged, 90%, 100% leverage. Because if there is any cyclical movement in the values of those properties or in rents, you could be in trouble and upside down, especially people that have private money and hard money. Me personally, I'm very comfortable at 80% leverage when my rate's below 5%, when it's 5% or below. So he's being even more conservative than I am. But to his point, he sleeps better at night because his LTV is lower, right? But he also is making more cash because his mortgage payment is less.
Yeah.
Where if I bought these properties, I'd probably keep it at 80% LTV on the new amount because the rates are insanely low right now. And I'd sleep very well at night at 80% LTV. Yeah. And I also believe having 80% LTV allows me to have better protection against lawsuits going after my assets, right? Because I talked to an attorney at one point and they said, hey, if your property's 80% leveraged, attorneys won't even go after it because it's going to cost them more to sell it to get to that money than it would otherwise. The biggest risk is when you have super low mortgages or no mortgages and a ton of equity in a property, someone slips and falls, they break their ankle, they're suing you for the whole thing. So just another little twist on it, not to disagree with Jay, because Jay is being prudent and wise to keep leverage low. But for me personally, everybody's going to have a different rate, an LTV where they're comfortable and they sleep well at night. But it is, an important piece of what he said.
Yeah, what I'll wrap up with is actually kind of what I think the most important line is this is the business model that he's running with. He's adding net worth, generating great overall annual returns because it's more than just the upfront 6.3%. And in his world, he's building a great hedge for inflation that I think most experienced real estate investors see coming. So again, I love when Jay puts out posts like this. I can't imagine how long it takes him to write these because I'm sure it took him, I don't know. I guess it took him a couple hours to put this together because again, he knows he's going to get picked apart by kind of both experienced and new investors. And if you go look him up, just look up Jason Scott on Facebook, find the post. And it's funny, you can see how people are replying. There's the newbies that are like making fun of him. That that read the first line and didn't read the rest. It's like, did you get past the first line? I mean, because he lays it out. And then there's the other people going, oh my God, I'm going to copy you. It's kind of funny to watch.
Yeah.
That. So
the most important thing as a real estate investor really that I learned in the last crash was that you have to watch and study, become a student of the real estate market and a student of the economy. And that's something that Jay and I have in common. And he's like way up here above where I am in terms of economic outlook and understanding. But it's something that is really important as an investor because things do change and they never stay exactly the same. And if you have one mindset and you're a one-trick pony, when the market shifts and the economy shifts, you're in trouble. So diversification is key. Listen, he's doing flips, he's doing buy and holds, he's doing racehorses, he's doing apartments, he's doing vacation rentals. And that's the kind of investor that I am and what we've talked about. You look at where are there opportunities in your market, where are the risks, and how do you mitigate and hedge those risks? That is as important or more important than your returns, especially when you're in a recession. So listen to the wisdom of these people that have been doing this for a long time. Michael, myself, Jay, there's others. Don't laugh and think you know it all, because as soon as you think you do, I did at one point.
Yeah.
I realized I have a lot to learn, and you can either learn from others that have been there, or you learn from more expensive mistakes that you make on your own.
Yeah. And I'll just close with that last kind of thought. You're never done. I've been in this 20 years, and I learned from all the experts like yourself on it that I speak to Monday through Friday. Jay Scott is somebody that I will read anything he puts out, whether it's a book, a post, anything. I think he is just that good. And he's genuine. He's just a good dude.
Yes.
And his wife, Carol, as well, a great individual. They're just wonderful people. So shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Scott. Thanks.
Absolutely.